Hello friends and potential friends. Well, we're about midway through January 2022. I think today's the 14th, if I remember right. No, I don't pay much attention to those things anymore. I decided I'd better come out here and do a little bit of a walk around. I'm starting out up here in the front porch because these green stalks are fixing to go through some changes. I'll start over here with the strawberry tower. You can see that the strawberries are pretty happy. Sending out runners. That one's got 3. I'm trying to get one of them to root up here in this other pocket because I've got another plant that isn't doing so well. The radishes down here, I've been eating radishes pretty regular, but I haven't had any forming in maybe the last week or so. I do have plenty of pretty flowers. Nasturtiums down there. There were some marigolds in. Yep, there's some marigolds. But the rest of this tower needs to be taken apart. I'll try to save as many of the radish leaves as I can. But I noticed this morning that I seem to have an infestation of aphids. So I'm not sure how many of them leaves I'm going to wind up saving. But I have been saving them all along, so I've got a good sized bag in the freezer. The other tower, well, that one looks kind of sad. Basically, the last couple of weeks of 2021 and the first 2 days of 2022, we had 9 straight days with above 80 temperatures. In fact, the 1st and 2nd of January, we got up to 85 both of those days, and that set new record high temperatures for those days. As a result, just about all of the Asian cabbages I planted, the Napa cabbage, the Mitsubishi, Mitsuhishu, as soon as they came up, they started bolting. And now they're just kind of hanging there for the most part. Now, the Bib lettuce, that's still going strong. Hasn't turned bitter yet, but this tower needs to be taken apart. This green acre cabbage up in the top is still hanging in there, so I'll save them. But the bok choy right next to it is already bolting, and all of the other Asian cabbages are bolting. But I figured I'd go ahead and get a video on, get these guys into video before I take them apart, because the next time you see them, they hopefully will look a lot better than this. Now, back on the back patio, here's another example of sad. More of the Napa cabbage that's bolting on me. A lot of the Swiss chard never came up on in this tower. Still a few Bib lettuces down there, but that one's been looking sad all along. And since I left it on the back patio, it really doesn't get enough sunlight to keep the plants happy. So that'll probably get taken apart pretty soon too. Meanwhile, the pineapples, they just keep on going. They don't pay much attention at all to the Florida weather. My pencil cactus still doing good. There's mint in the container there. That poor little okra. It keeps trying and trying. It does not want to give up, but it has yet to create a real okra pod. I haven't got any ginger or turmeric planted out here yet. It won't come up until things warm up real nice in the spring anyway. But I do have one of my aloes that put up another flower stalk. They just keep on going, keep on spreading. Oh, there's another one clear out here. I can't stay ahead of that stuff. Let's see, over in these containers, I've still got 2 mangoes growing. And plenty of rosemary. And over on this side, these are the red brandywine tomatoes that I left in the containers. I actually don't have any tomatoes on them, though there are still a few blossoms. And over here in this bed, the kohlrabi is growing okay, not forming bulbs. And over here it actually doesn't get nearly enough sunlight to make it happy. It's in the sun right now, but in another hour, this will be in the shade again. The eggplant back behind it keeps producing flowers, and it's also attracting a few worms. I've been picking them off whenever I find them, but so far no fruit. Elderberry still doing good, plenty more aloe. Pineapples out here, that one still needs to move because I'm going to have another round bed right here. right at the end of this one. And I'm going to put a pineapple in it. But this kohlrabi gets a little bit more sunlight and it's starting to form a bulb down there. There's some more of that green acre cabbage. This was getting eaten up by the roly-polies. And that's why I spread out this diatomaceous earth. It looks like I need to spread some more. The elephant garlic down at this end seems to be growing pretty good. Look, one of them's actually got 2 or 3 separate shoots coming up. But all of the first 7 that I planted have come up, and it looks like 3 or 4 of the second planting are coming up. Now, my favorite part, the tomatoes. Yep, I'm starting to get some ripening. These are Romas, and there are still a bunch of tomatoes in there, although I've been losing a lot of them to stink bugs and some kind of little tiny worm. And that's why you see diatomaceous earth spread around on some of those. In particular, as I found out, this one in the middle was getting eat up by worms. Took me a while to find out what was eating it, but I've sprayed it down with a little bit of neem oil and the diatomaceous earth for the stink bugs, and I'm just trying to stay ahead of them. But as you can see over here, let me get out of the way, I'm not doing a real good job of staying ahead of them. The stink bugs in particular, they come along and they'll just take a bite out of a tomato and then go on to the next one. So I got a bunch of tomatoes down here on the ground that's pretty much useless. But I am still getting some ripe ones. There's a Roma that's getting close to picking time. A couple more in there that are starting to turn. I haven't done anything with this bed yet, and my excuse is I've been fighting a pinched nerve in my neck for about the last 2 weeks, and I haven't been able to get out here and do much of anything. The pain in it is, at least, is starting to back off a little bit, so hopefully I'll be able to come out and spend more time in the garden before too long. Let's see, over here, my onion bed, things are moving slow. I haven't been watering every single day, which I probably should be, because we haven't had any real rain for the last, 3, maybe 4 weeks. The radishes down at this end, I'm starting to get some bulbs forming. This one is a French breakfast. There's another one next to it. Down here is a German giant, but right at the moment it's not very giant. But it might get there. We'll see. In particular, I want to see the watermelon radishes start forming. That's these guys right here. 'Cause I kind of like those things. Now let's walk over, see the other side of the tomatoes. And it looks like there's another tomato that's been bug eaten. Yep. Another one down. These are the mule teams over here. And I do have a few tomatoes that are still hanging in there. There's a few there. And there's another one in here. And some of these are getting pretty big. This guy's taller than I am. Right in the middle, I've got a Praxis cherry tomato, and it's got one bundle of tiny tomatoes on it down here. But I think it's getting shaded out a little bit by the others around it. This end we got ponderosas, and I've got some ponderosas growing. Can you see these guys? They're all green right now. And I have to be careful how I handle them because they've already bent over the limb that's holding them up. There's 2 good-sized tomatoes there. Another good one down there. This is the one that I've been watching all along. It's kind of interesting because it's got a little tiny tomato growing on the bottom of it. Those are ponderosas, and I'll probably be looking forward to another BLT out of one of those before too long. Over in the containerized tomatoes, we got Abe Lincoln's over here, and there's a red brandywine in there that's about ready to pick. More blossoms here, there, and everywhere. Here's another red brandywine that is overdue to pick. That one's ready to come off right now. And we got a bigger one forming over here. And the Brad's Atomic Grape tomatoes, got them little things all over the place. so far they're not really ripening, but I think any day now they ought to start up. I can't wait to get a good taste of those things. Now this bed, everything seems to be doing a lot better. This right here is one of the sunniest spots in my yard. So Black Beauty eggplants are doing okay. They actually seem to be doing better back in that more shaded bed. Kohlrabi, on the other hand, all of these are forming bulbs. Some of them looking pretty good. So I might get to taste kohlrabi for the first time in a few more months. And I've been tasting the kale, though it's kind of getting shaded out by the kohlrabi leaves, but it's still growing good, as well as the cabbage collards up here. Of course, the sun's been beating on them for the last few hours, so they're starting to droop a little bit here and there. And then finally over here, the patience garden. Well, they're still growing, still trying my patience, and so far I've resisted. I haven't tried to eat any of them, but I'm beginning to wonder if they're ever going to die back this year. I want to put another layer of mulch on top of them. Let's see, the rest of the mini orchard back there, not a whole lot of change. So I don't think I'm gonna take the time to go around and look at each plant again, because they basically look the same as they did the last time I walked around back there. Everything's still growing. It grows slow this time of year, but it is still growing. Okay, I'm gonna finish this off in the lab, mainly because I'm liable to show a little bit of a teaser or a spoiler. And I know that most of the people that watch my videos never make it to the end of the video. So those of you that hung around this long, you're going to get to see what may be a bit of a spoiler. But before we get to that, I've got sweet potatoes in this tray to grow some slips. This is the rosemary that I'm hoping to turn into a little bonsai. I'm trying to make that a round globe. And once I get it shaped, then I'm going to let it grow bigger. I got a couple right there that need to come off. So I'm trimming it frequently, trying to keep it compact and getting it into the shape I want it. If you look at it from this side, you can see that both of these sides were kind of flat. And then it was rounded on both the other sides. So I'm slowly trying to turn it into a globe, and we'll see how well I can do with that. Got one Roma tomato that I never moved outside, and it's giving me fruit. And I've got one Praxis cherry. It's also giving me fruit. Now these two look a little bit sad because I violated one of my prime tenants a while back. I ran out of soil and I brought in some soil from outside, and I've been fighting whiteflies in here ever since. Nothing comes into the lab from outside, and that has to be a very strict rule. One last thing I can show you. I know somebody had bought some what is it, purple flesh dragon fruit seeds from M.I. Gardner. Well, I bought some a while back too, and there's what I've got going out of them so far. Now these things, I'm gonna have to start treating them like cactuses and just ignore them, because I've been babying them and they're not growing at all. I mean, they sprouted, got up about 1/4 inch, spread out 2 leaves, and they've been sitting there for probably the last 3 weeks to a month, not doing a thing. So I'm gonna have to back off on watering them and see if they can start taking care of themselves. And everything else you see in here is part of a couple of experiments. I'll go ahead and show you this one. I don't think it's going to work out, but I'm not ready to give up on it yet. Remember that ginger flower that I had when I did the harvest? Well, I took that flower pot apart, and anything in it that looked like it might be a seed, I separated out, and that's what I've got planted here. I want to see if I can grow ginger from seeds. So far it doesn't look real promising, but with my experience with ginger, it likes it to be real warm before it'll come up. So I'm just going to hang on to those, and hopefully this spring we'll get some kind of results out of them. Now the rest of these here, I sure hope this experiment works, because it's going to teach me something that I really want to learn about, but I haven't been able to find any information on it, so I'm just winging it here. And I'm not even going to tell you what this is. but that right there may be a plant that probably none of you have ever seen before. But yet it's a common vegetable. You recognize that? I'm hoping this experiment works out. I've planted, let's see, 24, 36, maybe 40 seeds so far, and I've had 2 that sprouted, and one of those 2 then died. So I've got 1 seedling out of about 35 or 40 seeds that I planted. I've done a lot of research, and I can't find any information on growing these things this way, so I'm just winging it. But at some point I'll let you know what the experiment was, whether it succeeds or fails. And for right now, I'm going to pick a few tomatoes and go inside and fix myself a salad. So I'll see you on the next video.